This is Salam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Hello, I'm Iram Shah. Welcome to the Winning Women Show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. Thank you for joining us. As yesterday was National Entrepreneurs Day, we start today's show with an international award-winning business owner, Jill, to find out a little bit more about her journey to success and how you can embark on a business journey of your own. Welcome, Jill. For the benefit of the listeners, can you also introduce yourself? How are you today?
I'm very good, Iram. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me on the show. So my name is Jill Fitzgibbon, and I am an award-winning entrepreneur and business coach, and I live in London.
Jill, just for a little bit of context, can you share your journey to your award-winning business so the listeners understand a little bit more about your background?
Yes, of course. So I used to work in the City of London in a very high sort of powered job, and I decided back in 2002 that I wanted to set up my own business. I had an idea for it, so I took the plunge, took a leap of faith, left my very good job, which everybody said they thought I was completely mad, and backed myself and went into a business with a global conference company. And it's quite niche because it's for the metals and mining industry, because that's the industry I had come from. And as you can imagine, between 2002 and now, we've had a lot of things happen over the years, a lot of challenges. COVID, of course, the most recent one, which for a conference business wasn't great. But in 2013, we won an award from the Queen, which was the Queen's Award for International Trade and Enterprise. And we were the smallest company ever to win it with 2 full-time employees. So all the heartache up to 2013 and any challenges we've had since 2013 has always kept us knowing that we're an international winning company. So that's kept us going.
That's brilliant to know. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jill. Listeners, you are listening to the Winning Women Show with your host, Iram Shah. I'm just going to remind the listeners that if you are listening on the Facebook live stream, you can comment live and you can comment, and we will get your comments live here, and Jill can answer any of your questions regarding business, owning a business, launching, growing, all your challenges. You can also listen on the live YouTube stream. And you could listen on www.salamradio.co.uk. If you are local to Peterborough, you should also catch this on 106.2 FM on the car radio. And do message in, let me know how you're listening in. Again, your host, Iram Shah. You can text us as well on 074 11 191062, or you can call us on 017 33 602 133. Jill, we talked about you being an having a Queen's Award-winning business. Can you just give some, a lot of people that are listening in, we've got a whole range of different audience, we've got businesses as well. What tips would you give them to have to give businesses the best chance of winning awards and the benefits that it's helped you as well with?
I think the first thing is you have to have very solid foundations for your business. I think the problem is a lot of people have a great idea. They've never run a business before, and unfortunately 80% of startups in the UK fail in the first 3 years. And that's because they don't have everything ready for when they launch, so they need a solid business plan. And the business plan has to be, even if you're not looking for investment, and I think this is the mistake a lot of solopreneurs make, they think if they don't want investment or they're not looking to hire staff or anything like that, they don't need a business plan. But that is the fundamental thing you do need when you start a business, because that business plan is actually your roadmap for your business going forward. And it gives you all the things you need to work on, which is including the most important thing is your cash flow. And that's what saved us during COVID. With the business that was a conference business, if we hadn't had our cash flow in place, knew what we were doing, everything else, knew our business plan, then things would have been very different and we wouldn't have come out the other side so well as we did.
And is this something you encourage, Jill, for your clients as well, to help boost their business and gain new customers as well?
Yes, absolutely. Because in that business plan, you're looking at your strategy for, well, the vision for the business, number one. You're also looking at the strategy, how you're going to market your business. Are you going to be doing it in person? Are you going to be doing live speaking events? Are you going to go to trade shows? It depends on what your business is. If you're like me, I do both. I do online with my coaching, but I also speak I've spoken at a few events as well as a coach. So it's how you're going to get yourself out there, because whatever your business is, be it retail, be it a product-based service or an actual service like coaching, you've got to be able to know where you're going to get your clients from, and that's what you need your strategy for.
And is that something that comes quite easy to business owners, strategy, because it just seems it's quite a big term? What do you break it down a bit?
No, I think it's actually, funnily enough, I've just written a post today about this, about the fact that the one thing I see, especially with people with a new business, is how do I find clients? And this seems to be the actual question they ask over all social media platforms. So that is why when I work with people, I help them work out a marketing strategy, give them some ideas of how they could promote their business. And also, it's good to have a niche. It's good to have something that's slightly different to other people's. So, for example, you can be a coach or a consultant, or you can be an entrepreneur, but you need to have something that people say, actually, that's very different to what I'm used to, and I'd like to work with that person or buy from that person.
And you mentioned niche, Jill, but a lot of business owners are quite worried about niching down because they feel as if, and this is certainly me as well, that we feel as we may repel a huge audience. Do you get a lot of that as well?
Yes, I do. A lot of people are afraid to niche. Now, when I say niche, I don't mean go down to a completely tiny market, but what I mean is, for example, just to give you an example of when we were in the conference business when we started, we were up against huge publishing houses as two people. And people thought we'd never survive because we were up against big publications. But we went out and we found a gap in the market for that particular mining and metals area. And that is what won us the Queen's Award, because we found this niche, and this is now something that's been talked about all over the world. It's all about technology metals and green technologies and how we're going to electrify in the next 20, 30 years. So our niche has grown with us, and now people are talking to us and going, how long have you been doing this? And we were going, 2003. So by having something that's different, you have to believe in it and build it, though. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes, and you mentioned comparison as well, and competing with a lot of people in your space at the time. Again, this is something else, a huge challenge, isn't it? When for existing business owners, and even before launching, we're worried that other people may be in this space. Do we have something different that we can offer? What would you say to that?
I think it's true. It is a challenge. It is a challenge, but I think you have to, first of all, really research your market. Is there a need for what you're offering? That's the first thing you have to do. Lots of people think, oh yes, I have a great idea, I'll go out and make a business out of that, but they haven't done their market research. So you need to speak to people and ask them, would they like to use your service, or is this product something they'd use? So a lot of the people you meet who have done really, really well in business, they've often come up with something a bit different. It's just something a bit different, but they have done their market research. You always need to test the market.
Yes, and not, I remember actually somebody once told me, it's not what I want to provide, it's what the market needs. We may have a great idea, but if nobody wants it.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to make a business out of it. Exactly right.
Yeah. If this is resonating with you, do message comment on the Facebook live stream, or if you are on the YouTube, do give us a like. We can't get your comments on the YouTube live stream, but we can on the Facebook. If you are listening on the car radio, it's 106.2 FM, and you can text us on 07411 191062. This is the Winning Women Show with your host Iram Shah, and we have Jill with us. Jill, could you just pronounce your surname for me?
It's Fitzgibbon.
Fitzgibbons, yes.
So and Irish.
And Jill, how can people find you online as well?
Well, I'm on Facebook as Jill Fitzgibbon. They can find me there. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Instagram, and my company name is, my email is jill@lifeforcecoach.com. So that's LIFEFORCECOACH.com.
Brilliant. So award-winning business owner Jill is answering all our questions around launching a business, growing a business, the challenges we are having at the moment. We've talked about some of the things that you had whilst you had an award-winning business as well. Can you share a little bit more about if somebody wants to get more awards and more credibility, how can they go about finding out a little bit more?
Well, there's plenty of awards. For example, there's magazines you can go and look at. A lot of the magazines offer awards for new entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, first-time business owners. So again, I would just suggest for the Queen's Award, it's obviously, sadly, she has no longer with us. I don't know whether that's going to be continued under King Charles, but that is a very good one to go for if you're a small company, because they don't look at the size of the company. What they're looking at is the actual what you've done and what you've achieved and what sort of profit you've made in a short space of time, for example. And then, for example, there's also Brains magazine if you're looking to write and contribute. That's a good magazine. That's more for coaches and consultants, but that's BRAINZ, Brains magazine. And they do, you can go as a guest writer. And I think another thing I would do is if you're looking at your local area to promote yourself, there's often prizes given by local newspapers and radio stations and things like that. So I would very much encourage people to check out what's going on in their local area, wherever they live.
Yes, absolutely. And here at Salam Radio, we have interviewed local business owners as well. So yes, do get in touch. This is something we do definitely encourage. It shows you to be shows your expertise as well, and gives you a chance to just increase your visibility locally as well. Yeah, no, definitely. Jill, the term business conjures up an image of something quite mighty. How can you help us put this into perspective? What does it really mean to have a business?
I think for me, it is having that freedom to work for myself. It doesn't have to be enormous. It doesn't have to. Business, as you say, sounds a big word, and somebody says, "Oh, you've got a company." That sounds like we employ loads of people. Or my business coaching is just me. I'm solo to that. I do everything myself. But I think business, for people, if they want to think about it, is more, it can be a side hustle. It can be a side hustle. You can actually have a very good small business running alongside if you're employed. It doesn't have to be you giving up your well-paid job and taking a risk. You can actually run both side by side. So I've come across crafters, I've come across artists, I've come across jewelers, graphic designers, and a lot of them are doing it part-time alongside their own job, but they're business owners because it's their business and that is what they do. But they're building to think about one day they're going to give up their job and do it full-time. And that's why I say if you have a side hustle, it could take 5 years, but it doesn't matter because you've still got that continuity of your day job, which pays the bills, while you're building your business in the background.
And Jill, the side hustle businesses, are they more just a small passion, or is it a variety of different types of businesses?
I think for some of them it's mainly a small passion that started out as a passion and became a global brand for some, not for the people I've particularly coached, but I'm just saying generally in the world. Monica Veneda, the jeweler, she started off making her own small amounts of jewellery. Jo Malone made her perfume in a garage. The lady who did the Cambridge satchel, she started off her kitchen table. And again, she had to do it because she needed the money, and it started off as an idea. But again, market research, she did her research, especially the Cambridge satchel lady. She did a lot of research on that. So I think a lot of people think if they have a small business, that's as far as it's ever going to be, but it doesn't have to be. If you aspire to bigger things, it is possible to make a bigger company.
Yeah, and you mentioned that some people, they do eventually leave their work to pursue this on a more full-time basis. And actually, I didn't leave my own job when I came into a journey of business, but I can understand how employed work gives you a lot more security, gives you stable income. So how do you help people transition from being having that safety net to being self-employed?
What I usually say to people is work backwards. So build your audience first, make connections with people, build up relationships, and then when you're ready, start telling people bit by bit, this is what I'm going to be doing. But you don't have to go out all singing, all dancing on day one and tell people you've launched your business. I'm very much of the idea that you get it already in the background, and the audience side or the market you're going to be selling to, that's really important to have that built up first, because then you can test the market before you leave your business. You can your job. You can test it out, and you can say to people, I want to test out a product. Send them some freebies. Say, what do you think of this product, and get people to come back and say to you what they think. Would you use this product? Does it need tweaking? If you're offering a service like consulting or coaching, you can do a beta program. You can say to people, I want to get 6 people to come on my program and test it out, get feedback from them. But you can be doing all this and getting ready. And once you have the final idea of what people want and you feel confident that this will work for you, then is only when I would leave.
And so why is it that a lot of people, 80% of new startups in the UK fail in the first few years? Why do you think that is then?
I don't think they've done the research. I think they've gone out. I've had a company that didn't work, so I didn't do enough research. I got too excited about something and it didn't work. So, it happens to us all. And I think the problem is it's research. And I think it's also maybe, I would always say my husband would be a realistic person. I'm very optimistic. So I'm very much half glass full. But I think it's good to have somebody around you or people around you can also temper you a little bit when you get a bit excited about the thought of this business you're going to launch. And again, it comes back to market research. It all comes back to being prepared and knowing the market and knowing what your product is going to help people or your service.
Yes, and if you're enjoying this show, you are on the Winning Women show with Iram Shah. We've got a special guest with us, Jill's with us. So Jill Fitzgibbon on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. If you're listening on the car radio, do message us or call in on 01733 602 133, or you can text us on 074 11 191062. If you're listening to the Facebook live stream, you can comment below. And if you're listening to YouTube, you can just comment, but I won't be able to get your comments in live. If you can also listen via the website, which is www.salamradio.co.uk. We're talking about launching a business, the reason, Jill's own business as well, how she launched, how she got herself to an award-winning business. Now, you've mentioned one of the reasons, Jill, that inspired you to get into a life of an entrepreneurial journey was so that you can live life on your own terms. This is an idea that sounds really exciting, especially online now. We're seeing people with laptop lifestyle, all sorts of different things. Why is it that people actually procrastinate and don't actually go off and live on their own terms? Why do you think it takes people so long to take that first leap?
I think it's fear and lack of confidence. I think the problem is when you think about an idea and you're sitting and you're on a beach, say, and you think, oh gosh, this would be a fantastic life. I could come out here, I could spend a month here, and I could work from my laptop. That's all very good. When you get back to the harsh reality of back to wherever you live and you've got the mortgage to pay and the bills to pay, that security blanket suddenly, if somebody takes that away from you, I think people get a bit nervous. And I would say to you, that's why I said earlier, the cash flow is really important. You must, if you're going to launch a business or if you're going to leave your full-time job for launching a business, I firmly believe that you have to know that you've got how much you can afford, how long you can afford to be out of work in that sense. If you're not going to start earning money immediately. In my first business, I earned literally nothing in the first year, and it was very scary at times. And I thought, have I made the right decision? What have I done? Am I going to go back to my 9 to 5? Which I think a lot of people get that feeling, and you get cold feet very easily. But again, if you've got faith in your product and you've faith in your service, that helps you carry through. But it is important you do cash flow. You must do cash flow. And the other thing I say to people is don't go out and spend a load of money on things at the beginning that you don't need. You don't, unless you're selling online as in a product and you need Etsy or something like that, you don't need a fancy website. There's loads of tools out there you can use for free. And I don't think people on that side don't do enough research, and they think they need an expensive website and they think they need all expensive logos and things like that. No, they don't. And that's the other thing. Just look at what you really need to buy at the beginning and keep your cash flow for when you're going to have go through sometimes, especially if you've got a cyclical type of business where it's seasonal. You know, it does well at Christmas, maybe you sell loads of things at fairs. It's quiet till then it's maybe Valentine's, then it's the summer. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. When you know your business, to keep that cash flow is so important.
Yeah, and you've raised some great points, Jill, because I myself, when I came into business, I felt like I needed everything, the website, all the branding, everything sorted, all my ducks lined up in a row before I started even speaking to anyone. And there was a lot of fear as well, actually. Maybe they were ways of just procrastinating and not taking that full plunge and saying what I was offering. But I think once you do that, and I think also what's helped me is, Jill, is speaking to lots of different people as well, and just having a good support network of people, different mentors, coaches, because then they help you stay on track. You watch as well, and you get inspired by other people and people that are more ahead of the game. I think it's really important to be under their wing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also say to my clients, take imperfect action. That's why people procrastinate. They think everything has to be perfect before they start. No, it doesn't. Take imperfect action. You can launch your business without everything being 100%, because believe me, it'll never be 100%, right? So that's the other thing. You think it has to be perfect, it doesn't.
Yeah, I love that, taking perfect action. So do you think people, before they launch a business, is there a particular ideal business mindset that puts people in a better step?
Yeah, I think you need to be resilient. I think you have to be prepared for challenges along the way. You can't let yourself be put off by the first hurdle you come across, because that's just, you'll never get through. You know, you'll never last 20 odd years like I have in business if you allow all of that to scupper your plans, if you like. And when I say resilience, I mean, people think you're born being a resilient person. You can actually build resilience, and resilience can be built by looking at things that you've done well, building your own confidence. You know, if you're going through a rough patch, think about why you started that business. What was your why? You know, why did you want to start that own business? Was it because you wanted that freedom? Did you want to be able to have that laptop lifestyle, or was it just because you wanted to be able to have a good lifestyle with your family, that you want to be able to spend more time with your children, or you didn't want to be at the office 9 to 5 or 7 to 9 or whatever time you work. So I think that's important, that if you've got to understand that there will be challenges along the way, and the business people who succeed realize that basically things happen that they can't stop, like the pandemic, but you have to just carry through that, and being resilient helps you in a big way. So challenges, being prepared for challenges, and learning to deal with them with that, and not giving up at the first hurdle, I think, is what makes a successful business owner.
Yes, I would say that definitely I have found myself over the last couple of years, I've had to adapt, I've had to evolve, I've had to listen to the people that have been through the storms. So my work is in the property field, and as we know, there's been a lot of turbulence, and I have found that, having the right guidance has been very important for me to be able to maneuver correctly.
Yeah, and if you've got a good business to start with, it's not a bad business when something goes wrong that's not in your control. So, as you say, the property business at the moment, obviously, it's in a bit of turmoil with the high interest rates and everything that's going on around it. But it's not going to last forever. But if you're prepared that these things are going to happen every now and then, you will get through it a lot easier than if you just think, oh, that's it, I have to give up now. You know, and as you say, talk to other people. Go and talk to people and say, how did you cope? What did you do when this happened? Don't be afraid. Lots of people out there are very happy to help you and give you free advice. You know, and surround yourself with people who are also in business. not necessarily the same business as you, but surround yourself with people in business so that you can ask the questions, go on groups, join groups, free business advice groups, things like that, and ask questions.
Thank you for that, Jill. We are with Jill Fitzgibbon, and we are really enjoying. We're talking about business, getting into business, launching your business from scratch. Somebody is thinking about, okay, they like the idea of having a business, they might have something. What should be their first few steps?
Okay, well, the first step is, I would say, to ask your immediate circle of people that you know will be honest with you and are not going to say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, when it's not a great idea. So use friends and families, ask them, say, I've got this idea, what do you think? And see what feedback you get. I would then have a look again at your competition. Look at the competition. Is there somebody else doing the same as you? Or if there is somebody else doing the same as you, do you think you can do that better? And if you can do that better, why do you think you can do that better? And then from there, you come up with your business plan. As I mentioned earlier, you put everything down on paper. You put down what your 5-year plan is. You put down how you would expect to find customers and clients. You put down how you're going to market it. Is it going to be online only, or are you going to go on things like that?
Yes, brilliant. Thank you so much. Fantastic. We are going on a quick break. When we come back in 5 minutes, we will continue our conversation with Jill Fitzgibbon. We are talking about businesses, launching, growing. See you on the other side.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
HS Lawyers make it so simple. Contact Majid Sarwar or Asad Arif today for any matters relating to immigration, family, business or property. Google HS Lawyers to see why we're the highest reviewed firm in Peterborough, with over 500 testimonies on our honesty, speed and excellent communication, making your legal matter simple, easy and stress-free. Contact us today on 01733 703 978. That's 01733 703 978, or email us at peterborough@hs-lawyers.co.uk. HS Lawyers, built on values of integrity and respect, with offices in Peterborough and throughout the West Midlands.
Peterborough. Who said good quality fried and grilled chicken has to be expensive? At Sam's, we take pride in every piece of chicken that leaves our kitchen. Just one bite of our chicken or burgers is all it takes to realise we are the best. Visit us at our brand new place at 333 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PF. Or order a delivery through Just Eat, Uber or Deliveroo. Sam's, the home of great tasting chicken for over 30 years.
It's estimated that 5,760 children become orphaned every day, and the numbers are rising. UKIM ensures that the orphans we sponsor receive healthcare, food, education and shelter to show them that there are people who care. This Ramadan, from just £30 per month, you can make a real change in an orphan's life. Your sponsorship will provide them with much needed essentials to ease their situation. For orphan sponsorship, call now or visit ukim.org.
दोस्ता की परेशान है
जरा कर है ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं मार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
अलाता उथे कै स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीनिक ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां मियारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक नो टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध ही छोड़ी ते हर शय लबनी
उठ जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374
मैं शाहनूर मजीद हूँ और कोर्ट मेरा एक खूबसूरत आशियाना है जहाँ मेरे जैसे हजारों यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों की कफालत बेहतरीन अंदाज में की जा रही है। आए हमारे सरों पर दस्ते शफकत रखें और इस माह रमज़ान अपने सदकात, खैरात और एहतियात से हमारी कफालत में अपना हिस्सा डालें। अल्लाह पाक आपका दिया हुआ माल अपनी बारगाह में कबूल फरमाए, आमीन।
कोर्ट UK office
0300 123 774 court.org.uk.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Hello, welcome back to the Winning Women Show with Iram Shah. You are on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. If you are tuning in for the first time, do message in, comment on your live stream, which will be on the Facebook live stream. Say hello, tell us what you're doing at this particular time. If you are on the YouTube live stream, comment below and say hi as well. You can also listen to Salam Radio if you are local on your car radio 106.2 FM or on the website www.salamradio.co.uk. We have with us our special guest, Jill Fitzgibbon, an award-winning business owner. We're talking about growing your business, launching your business, and some of the challenges you are having as well. So we have just got Jill online with us. Jill, how are you today?
I'm very good, thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, very good. You've given us a lot of value on how to find business, how to launch businesses. What kind of challenges are people bringing to you at this particular time?
I think a lot of people have told me it's finding new customers and new clients. I think many people like me think that just posting on social media here and there will get them clients, but they've got to be able to stand out from the competition. And I think another thing people are coming to think about now is pricing. They're not sure about what they should be charging people because they know that there is a cost of living crisis in the UK at the moment, and many people may not be thinking of buying a product or a service at the moment. So pricing is an issue. So I think when people ask me what they should charge for a product or a service, it is very important that they test the market. I think that is a big problem at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting that you've said that because, funny enough, people are cancelling subscriptions now. I myself have been looking at all the low-cost subscriptions that I've got. Some I don't even interact with. So, yeah, we've become a lot more conscious. You know, people are worried about the times ahead as well. So are you advising a different pricing structure given the circumstances at the moment?
Yeah, I do say to people, look very carefully about what you think that level is that people are willing to accept. And as you say, I've cancelled a load of subscriptions myself. And the other thing I've said to people is, especially when there's what I said to you earlier about using all the free tools you can for your own business, because then you're not having to make back quite as much money if you're having to pay for a lot of the things that you don't need. So you don't need an expensive website and a hosting service. You can actually get cheaper rates and always go back and negotiate with things as well. Because, I mean, I negotiated on a website and I negotiated on other things because people want the business themselves. So don't be afraid to negotiate when you're starting off. And so the less cost you have, then you don't have to pass on so much cost to your client.
That's very important given the times. People are so much more conscious, aren't they, of how much expenditure is going out. The other thing you touched on was posting and online marketing has a place. Is this something you advocate, more organic marketing?
Yes, absolutely. And I have been in many groups which I've left because they are just, as soon as somebody sends you a friend request, they don't even say hello or have a conversation. Boom, in comes the sell. Come and join this, buy this. And I think more and more people are getting quite fed up with it. And it's creeping into all social media platforms at the moment. So my whole thing is building relationships with people. When they come and ask you to be a friend, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, you go back and you thank them and you say, thank you very much for accepting my friend request. And then you start a conversation. I had this happen to me this afternoon with a lady, and we were chatting for ages because she asked me a question. I helped her out with something, and now she's a friend on Facebook, and we're going to chat further about maybe doing some business together.
Yeah, and that's how it starts, isn't it? You start planting a seed of just being, connecting and saying thank you. But how sometimes some people, and it's important to get off messaging as well, though, isn't it? Because otherwise you can go back and forth, ping-ponging messages, which is not really serving a purpose. Would you agree? Not a good use of your time, perhaps?
Yeah, if you're doing it too often. But the other thing now I think is much better is voice notes, and it gets you much more interaction with people. So if you're having a one or two back and forth with somebody, I will then leave a voice note. And often I get much better response from people because they'll come back to you and say, oh, thank you very much for your note. And then you can set up a call, chat to them. I think it makes it more personable rather than just sending a blanket connection and not speaking to the person or having anything with them. And the other thing I was going to say is you can do things like free webinars and free workshops. And again, that is a really good way to build up your mailing list on whatever it is, product it is or service it is. And it gives people, you're giving people value. You're giving somebody something. You're not going straight in and saying, oh, please buy this. If you do webinars and workshops, or even whatever your product is, you could do something like a showcase of your products, for example, coming up to Christmas, and invite people along and say, I would like to show you what I've got, and maybe do a competition or have an offer or a bonus. These sort of things people enjoy and like because they feel they're getting some value and they're not having to pay for it at the beginning.
Yeah, that's true. That word values, it's all over online, isn't it? We need to give value first, relationships first, and then through that we sell.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how I get a lot of my clients, is through my workshops and webinars, because they see that I'm giving value at the free event, and then they think, well, actually, if I worked and that's what she gives for free, what would I get if I paid? And I think that's the big thing. People want that value at the beginning. And some people mightn't come back to you or work with you. That's fine by me too, because at least I feel I've helped somebody along their journey, which I think is important.
Yeah, great. And it gives you a taster of that business owner as well, doesn't it? It gives you a taster of your services, your products as well. And that's great. So so we've talked about, you also mentioned online about your salt and pepper analogy. I really like that, and how you compared it. For the benefit of the listeners, please can you share it?
Oh, yes. So I was talking about when I went into a supermarket and I bought a salt and pepper set. And I didn't actually look at any other salt and pepper sets. I said, oh, that'll do. And I just picked it up off the shelf. And it wasn't very expensive, but I was rather annoyed when it didn't last even, 5 weeks. And it actually wasn't really what I wanted, and it wasn't suitable. So I was saying it's a bit like when you pick a coach, or you pick to work with somebody, because I had a lady and she came to me and she said, the thing is, I went along, and at the very beginning of her business journey, when she decided to set up a business, she's not a coach, but she was setting up a business, and it was to do with relationships and helping people with tools for relationships, not really a coach in the true sense. And she went in and she said, I bought this course, and she never researched it, a bit like my salt and pepper set. She never researched it. And we went on a call together, and she said to me, I wish I had met you first, because I've just spent all this money, she said, on something that isn't for me, and I should have done my research better. And that was the whole point. Don't buy the first thing you see, the first shiny object you see on the shelf, because it isn't necessarily for you.
Yeah, no, great. And what is it that you offer within your to help businesses grow and launch?
So I'm about to do a new group program, which is launching in January. It's called your business roadmap, how to launch and scale. And I will be going through the basics you need to have in place, the vital foundations you need to have in place if you want to build a business and make it succeed. I also say to people, if you don't have those vital foundations in place, it's a little bit like building your business on sand. It's just going to sink. And this big program will be in this group. The maximum number of people in the group is going to be 10. And it'll be all about getting you ready, putting all the things you need to do in place, and then you would be ready to go and get some clients.
Yeah, and that's so important, actually. I like the idea of a small group. So I have been part of various types of mentoring, and I found that a small group, a lot more intimate, everyone gets to know one another as well, and bounce ideas quite freely.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, and also I think the other thing is everybody in the group is going to be, it's maximum of 10, and everybody in the group is going to be at the same stage in their journey looking to set up a business. And then you get confidence when you hear other people having similar problems to you, or you think, oh gosh, it's not just me who feels that way, and we'll have breakout rooms, and people can chat to each other. And by keeping it to a small number, I can give individual coaching within the group to everybody, and everybody have time to ask questions and tell me what they did the previous week, and did they do some actions and things like that. So as you said, it makes it much more intimate, really.
Yes, and Jill, I've made some lifelong friends in this way as well. So actually, through groups like this, where we've all started together, everyone's on their own small journey in different business interests, but it's really nice to work like that with people.
Yeah, it is. It's good. And also, I think that thing of knowing that you're not alone when you're starting a business. I think everybody feels they're the only one in the world starting a business at the beginning, because there's lots of hurdles. It can be daunting. And the other thing is, by doing a course like this, it's going to break down the steps you need. So I always say it's like a jigsaw puzzle. So when you start with a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle and you throw it out onto the table and you go to push it together, you're totally overwhelmed because you've no idea where to start. So you start at the edges. And then once you get the edges in place, you can see bits that you can put together. But it's that whole thing of, where do I start? And this will help you start and show you where you need to start. And by the end of it, you should be confident enough to go out and get ready to launch.
Yeah, and then some business owners, maybe they've got something to build, something that they want to build, something of their own. It could well be that someone to turn a passion into a business. Do you help with all of those different ideas?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it could be some. And in fact, one person I spoke to recently, I always give people a free call for 30 minutes just to chat to them to see if we're suited to working together. And she started off the conversation saying she wanted to do X. And from questions I asked her, I got her really thinking about what she thought she wanted to do. And she came out at the end and she said, actually, I've decided that's not what I want to do. I want to do Y. But that was the whole point. That's the whole point of coaching. We don't give you, we don't change you. I don't change you. What I do is I help you see what you are capable of, and I give you that encouragement to question yourself and realize what you want to do.
Yeah, and a business plan. What are the different components that you cover during your roadmap?
And so the first thing would be, what is your mission statement? What is your niche? What makes you stand out from everybody else in the crowd? What do you see? How do you see your business going in the next 5 years? And I say 5 years because 5 years is not very long in business. It takes a good couple of years to get going. So you've got to be able to think about, in 5 years' time, where do you want to be? And then when we look at that, you say, how will I implement those steps that I'm going to put together? So you've got to think of implementation, the objectives, the action plan, when you're going to put it together. As I said, you want to work backwards. You've got to think about your market at the start and then think how you're going to reach that market. I also look at the marketing strategy with people. I look at their advertising strategy. I look at their budget. We look at the budget. We look at the cash flow, and also systems and tools that you can use for free when you start off, so that you don't end up spending a fortune. So it really is everything you need from the beginning, just even the website. You can pay things like Calendly. I was saying to somebody the other day, if you pay for Calendly and people want to set up appointments with you, it's £100 a year. You don't have to pay for Calendly. It's free. Canva's free, unless you want to do lots of pretty pictures, but the basic Canva's free, and you can do a landing page. You don't even need a website. There's lots of things. So I will show people systems and tools and things that they don't have to pay for, and walk them through it. And if they're interested, there's the next level up will be things like webinars, workshops, how to put those together, and how to get people to come to your workshops and how people come to your webinars.
This is brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Jill, for sharing that. If you are listening and if you are interested in living a different life, a life where you can decide your hours of work, set on your terms, and if you have a business idea and you're just looking to find out a little bit more, do get in touch. You'll find Jill's contacts on my Facebook as well, and on Salam Radio's we'll have a replay link on there as well. Jill, would you just share how people can find you as well?
Yeah, sure. So as I said, I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Jill Fitzgibbon. I think I'm the only one there, I think. My website name is thelifeforcecoach.com, and my email address is jill@lifeforcecoach.com. And I'm also on Facebook under Jill Fitzgibbon as well.
And Jill, what's your vision? Where do you hope to take your business?
Well, if I'm perfectly honest, the conference business, definitely want to sell that. At some stage, it was always with the intention to be able to sell it because it's a very sustainable, good business. And I think I've done it for 20 years. So for me, I feel like it's time to now concentrate on helping other people set up their business, which is why in the last 2 years I've been doing this business coaching. I also want to be able to do it I don't want to be tied to working all the time from London. I like to be able to travel. So this year I've actually managed to go to Spain, and I coached from Spain. I coached from Ireland. Obviously I coached from London. But it's that whole thing of wanting to be able to do something different now and give all my experience and expertise, share that with people, which is something I've always wanted to do, and that's what I'm building at the moment.
That sounds really nice. It does. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And do you have travel plans as well over the coming months?
Yes, so actually we're going back to Ireland for Christmas,
Lovely.
which will be lovely. Yeah, which is going to see family and friends. And then we plan to go on a city break to Portugal, and that's going to be in the spring. And then I'm in America actually for a conference in April, which is work, but I've also been asked to speak at a retreat there for coaches. So that should be interesting. So I'm going to do that. And then next year we have a big trip planned, which is in May and June, we're going to Canada. We're going up from driving from America up to Canada.
Oh, I've done that before. Lovely. Yeah. And Jill, one of the things, the reasons that you're able to actually do this is because you're not bound to a rota. You're not bound to a holiday rota system where, as we know, 4 weeks holiday, Christmas comes. If you've had one Christmas off, you can't have the following year. And that's why you're able to plan over the whole year ahead, aren't you? Because you're living life on your terms.
Yeah, and I can coach. I can coach from America. I can coach from Canada. It doesn't matter, and that's the point. If you've got a laptop and you have a good Zoom connection, and that's the other thing I did, find in the pandemic was that people have got so used to being on Zoom. I'm not that they want to be on it 24 hours a day, but they don't have a problem being, doing business on Zoom now. So I think that's the other thing. It changed the way people feel. They don't feel they have to be in an office all the time.
Yeah, and this for me has been a huge driving factor as well. I've based my work around, being able to choose my own hours, being able to plan ahead like the way you're able to. So these are some of the great benefits. And what else are you finding, Jill, that you could share? People that are still on the fence, not sure about whether they should take the leap. What would you say to them?
Just ask yourself the question, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Do you still want to be doing that job you're not really enjoying and you actually just feel you're tied to it because you have to stay with it because it pays the bills? I'm not saying do something mad and just give it up and have no money, but just really question what you want to do and ask yourself that question. If you could be yourself. If you know, in 5 years' time, if you met yourself down the road, would you be happy to be in that job that you're not enjoying? Or are you willing to spend the next few years getting yourself ready to launch that business you've always dreamt about? Because mine was always a dream to work for myself, but I worked for somebody else for a while and then thought, right, now's the time. I knew I wanted to do it. I started off when I was 12. I had a babysitting agency.
Oh, did you?
I used to babysit on our summer holidays, and there weren't enough babysitters, so I used to get my friends to do it, and I'd take a commission.
Oh, that's great, though, isn't it? There's a business in everything, isn't there?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
And actually, in terms of resources as well, Jill, what books have inspired you as well to keep going? What books? Is there any particular podcast or anything that you listen to that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I think I like all the things that give you mindset, talking about mindset. I'm actually trying to think of one off the top of my head, but mindset books, I think, for a business owner are really good because there's loads of them out there. You can Google them. But the reason I say mindset ones is because it's changing your mindset to become a business owner. So my big thing is saying to somebody, often they still think of themselves as an employee, even when they're working for themselves, because they don't that mentality of always being employed rather than realizing you're the CEO of your own company. You are a boss.
Yes.
So I think that's those mindset books where teach you and telling you, to take, Think Rich is the one, and the other one I would say, which is brilliant, is Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog.
Yes.
You know that book?
Yes, I do.
That's a must for anybody who's a procrastinator, who sits on the fence. That I would definitely recommend that to anybody starting a business.
Yeah, and I have found actually that you're right. We are now the CEO of our own life and of our day. So I break it down, and Eat That Frog has helped me do the hardest things first thing in the morning. And I find that the good thing is that every day can be different as well. So whereas when I was employed, I found like it was a little bit mundane. I felt like it was the same thing. I knew what to expect. But I think the good thing about being an entrepreneur, you just don't know what to expect. You could have a new lead, you could have something totally different. And that keeps it quite challenging through the day as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it gives us variety. As you say, you mix it up because you've got children or you need to go to a school play or something like that, or a sports day. If you're working for somebody, that's very difficult. So I think it's a lovely way to have good family time as well as earning money. So is anybody who's listening who's still on the fence, just think about what you really want for you and your family, or just for you if you don't necessarily have to be married with children, but just what do you want for yourself? What would make you happy?
Yes, and I have found some of the best podcasts have been around people's story. I have a real passion to find out why people started, how they started, and those founder stories. They just make for great stories, and this is what we do at Winning Women as well. I showcase women in front of you so that our listeners can be inspired by their stories and motivate them to do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody, as I said, anybody thinking about, just even look at those people I mentioned today, like Joe Malone and the Monica Vanaza. They're all people who started with a little idea, and they started, and look at them now, they're global brands. And you would, if you ask them how they started off, they would say the same: terrified, not sure what they were going to do, not sure if they were ever going to be a success, but they kept at it.
And what challenges did you have, or are you still having in your business that you overcome?
Challenges?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think for the conference business, it was definitely the pandemic, but we had to think differently. So we had to think about how we were going to serve our clients, even though we couldn't meet them in person and we couldn't do proper events. So that's when we came up with the idea that we would do webinars so that people could keep in touch, because we've customers in Australia, Japan, China, you name it, all over the world, all over Europe, North America. And so we started doing webinars to keep them in the loop of what was happening in the industry. And they were really, really grateful for that. But we didn't know what to do when it happened first. We thought, oh my goodness, we're not going to be able to, how are we going to keep all these clients together? But by offering them something a little bit different, and we did it in their time zones. So we did some stuff at 5 o'clock in the morning our time, or we're doing things in the afternoon. So when you have a challenge, you have to think slightly outside the box. What can you do to keep that company going when you have a challenge? and you will have challenges. Nothing, hopefully, as awful as the pandemic was for a lot of businesses. But when you come up against a challenge, don't run away. Just think about something that you could do that will just get you over that hurdle.
Yeah. And as the year comes to an end, do you think this is the time where I find that a lot of people around December start sitting down evaluating the year, what they would like to do different? What would you say to them as they're reflecting?
Well, for me, when I started my coaching business, I did exactly what I tell people what not to do. I went off and looked at all the shiny objects. Oh, I better join this. Oh, I better sign up for this. I better get a website. And I actually ended up doing an audit about 6 months in, going, I don't need half this stuff. And when I got myself more grounded about what I actually want to do, I realised that a lot of the things I had signed up for, like you were saying, are of no interest to me, and I don't need them. So I think you have to, if I started again, I wouldn't even do a website at the beginning. I would just start off and I would just keep everything very simple, which is what I do now. It's all very simple. And I hardly pay for anything. And I wouldn't start going off paying for ads. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do pay for ads. And that's one thing I learned. Paying for ads is not going to get you a lot of business unless you're going to be spending hundreds of thousands on Facebook. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. And as we're departing, we've got a few seconds left. What would you say to our audience, Jill?
I would say believe in yourself. Surround yourself with positive people. And don't be afraid to take a leap of faith.
Thank you so much, Jill. You are listening to the Winning Women Show on Salam Radio 106.2 FM. This is your host, Iram Shah. If you've just tuned in, we do have a replay of the show. Our guest has been Jill Fitzgibbon. She has given us a real good insight on how you can launch and grow your business. You can follow Jill online as well. You'll be able to find her under her own name, Jill Fitzgibbon. That's FITZGIBBON on Facebook and on Instagram as well. And you'll see more of her on my profile as well. Thank you very much for tuning in. You'll see me again on our next show where we have another guest with us as well. Take care. Have a good evening.